Hey guys, it's your boy 14 Fluffies here. Back from my hiatus. I was having technical difficulties with my computer, so I'm borrowing one of my mom's computers for recording this video. As we all should know by now, a new ban list came out recently. I wasn't able to react to it the day of, but it's a pretty expansive one, and it's definitely going to reset the game, going to reset the meta. It definitely boosts some of the newer decks coming out and some of the newer decks already out. Okay. First off, towers got banned. I think that was needed and somewhat not needed, just because everyone kind of has an out to towers already, but at the same time, if you don't have an out to towers, you kind of lose automatically. It's somewhat difficult to play around just because of its effect, to be pretty much unaffected by everything, and yeah, I kind of feel like it was somewhat warranted, though it could have stayed and I wouldn't have really cared regardless. Okay, next up, of course, there's Shrit. I didn't think that was really necessary either, but if you really want to, make Necros not the best deck anymore, that's probably the way to go, I guess. I don't really have very much opinions on this, well, especially for Shrit, but yeah, I don't play Necros, so it doesn't matter to me. El Shaddoll Construct, that's probably the biggest, ban for this ban list. It's probably the hit that people probably are the most upset about, because they're just outright killing Shaddolls in the most cruel and unusual way. Like, this is the OCG treatment for Shaddolls, basically. Me personally, I'm glad Construct's gone. I hate Construct so much. I mean, you get too much advantage off of it, really. And also, with Construct gone, you don't really have to have the fear of leaving an extra deck monster out on the field ever again, even if you're playing a deck that does splash Shaddolls into it, like, I don't know, like Shaddoll Trains or something, whenever those get here, but, yeah, it's just like, you don't really have the fear about Shaddoll Fusion anymore, just because you don't have to worry about your field getting completely blown out, and your opponent getting an unnecessary amount of card advantage over you just because you left, an extra deck monster out on the field. I mean, this is relevant for me just because, well, I can leave this guy out on the field all I want and not have to care about a Construct coming in and running him over and screwing me over in the long run. So yeah, I agree with Construct. I don't think it had to be banned necessarily. I think banning it was a little harsh. I'd say limiting it would be enough in hindsight, even though when I saw it, it's just like, oh shit, they're killing Shaddolls. It's just like, I think it's unnecessary for banning Construct. I mean, especially if you're going to make other hits to Shaddolls, which they have. Evil Storm Exciton Knight, I never had it. I never really cared. It's not like what happened with me in Lavalval Chain, where I pull up Lavalval Chain and Return of the Bling, and then only for it to get banned a few months later. It's just like, well, what now? I have this Lavalval Chain I can't use anymore. That wasn't the case with me in Exciton Knight. I never had that card anyway, so it's not any money you lost out of my pocket just to get rid of it, and I really don't care about Exciton Knight. Actually, I'm glad that's gone too, just because, well, I don't have to worry about my field getting nuked turn 1 just when I set up for Darklaw. Because when Exciton Knight comes out, if you don't have Fiendish Chain, you lose, basically. That's just what it comes down to. And that's it for the bans. Yeah, I don't agree with some of the stuff, and to the extent of how hard it was hit. That's mostly just Construct, though, even though I hate that card. Cleaford Scout Limited, damn. I thought that was kind of harsh, too, because you could have just taken away towers, and Cleafort would have just died off just by themselves, really. But if you want Cleafort to die right now, just limit Scout. Yeah, you might as well just go ahead and, I don't know, actually, no, I wouldn't say limit Advanced Ritual Art, because that would hurt other decks too, but, really, the only real deck that maxes out on Advanced Ritual Art is Cleafort anyway, so, that deck has pretty much been completely neutered. I don't anticipate running the Cleaforts very much anymore, not like it was a very difficult matchup for me anyway, because turn 1 Darklaw, they pretty much have to scoop to that. Unless they have the Dark Hole Raigeki or some other out, like Skill Drain, then it doesn't matter. Okay, Brio and Unicorn Limited. I mean, I knew that would happen. I was more shocked that didn't happen last format, though. But now that it's happening now that it's happening this format, Necrons are pretty much not going to be a thing anymore. I mean, you may see them a little bit, but they're not going to be tier 1 anymore, that's for sure. Ritual Beast Ulti Kanahawk, that was, in my opinion, that one was out of left field. That was completely unnecessary. And I think that's kind of like the overall, what's the word? The community, I think out of everyone in the community agrees that this was the most random hit out of this entire list. Even more random than banning Exciton Knight, because at least Exciton Knight, there was a good reason for it. But Kanahawk, I wonder if Konami of America were watching Nationals a lot and kind of figure out, well, Jarrell Winston and Miguel Soto made this deck really broken, apparently, so we gotta hit the Kanahawk and make the deck dead now. I don't know. That's probably what they were thinking. Kind of like how they thought about how Stratos was broken, even though Power Creep kind of says otherwise. I mean, come on. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that Stratos can hold a candle to Shadow Mist. Stratos can't hold a candle to Shadow Mist either. I don't even think Stratos is as good as Blazeman, and personally, but that's just me. I don't even know why Stratos was banned in the first place, but I'm getting off topic here. Okay, for other limits, we have El Shaddoll Fusion, of course. I don't understand why that was needed, especially when you're already banning Construct. There's no point of, hitting El Shaddoll Fusion if you're going to, take away the best monster in the deck. So yeah, it's just cruel and unusual punishment at this point. I mean, if they really want to kill off Shaddolls, I mean, they've done it, I guess. Reinforcement of the Army, that's probably the most, that's probably the most relevant hit for me. Luckily, when I saw this, I got on TCG Player and ordered a playset of Secret Rare E-Calls just to, replace my Rodas. But it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's the most minuscule change for me personally. Yeah, so I'm not even that bothered by it. Really, it's a hit that really should have happened. Just because so many decks can play, and because they kind of have to, punish Teller Knights a little bit. Just because that deck is way too consistent. Even though the only searchers in the deck are Rhoda and Deneb. And that's all for the limits. Okay, for the semi-limits, of course, it was... Oh, yeah, I completely skipped over Graph, by the way. Yeah, I completely skipped over Graph, my bad. So they're finally hitting Burning Abyss. The hits were pretty minimal. I think the deck is still very much playable with Graph at 1 and Sur at 2. I mean, with Graph at 1, you don't always have the... You don't always have that strong of an opening play now, because you want to preserve your Graph for extra advantage. Or maybe... I don't know. I'm not a Burning Abyss player, so I wouldn't really know when the best time to use a Graph would be. Same thing with Sur. I mean, if you have a Dante Engrave, that's probably what you would always get back with Sur anyway. Sur to 2 is kind of... It doesn't really do much. I mean, it does make a difference because you have one less Sur, and you need to be more mindful of your resources, but I think it probably might take Burning Abyss in a good direction, just because they'll probably have to use their resources more wisely, and it'll be a bit more of a skillful deck now. Let's hope, at least. Cards no longer on the list. Chaos Sorcerer, Legendary 6 Samurai Shien. I don't really care about either of those two. Spellbook of Fate, don't really care. I'm not a Spellbook player. And Gear Gear, that's the one I care about, because I actually did buy a Gear structure deck a while back, and it's just like, if heroes ever get hit, that's the deck I'm going to be building, of course, because I like Gear a lot, and I don't know, Gear to 3, it's really good. I don't even, really, this should have came off a while ago, maybe like a January or something, I don't know, but it's out at 3 now. It doesn't really matter. You might see Geargia a little bit now, and you might see a little bit of 6 AMs, and definitely some Prophecy now that Fate's back at 3. I mean, that Prophecy's not going to be tier 1 without Judgment. That's just obvious. Like, they're not going to be nearly as powerful as they used to be without Spellbook of Judgment. I'm not sure if Prophecies will actually play Jowgen or not, just because they won't have Judgment, of course, to special summon it, but I don't know. I think Prophecy might come back because of this. I mean, they were always a good deck just in general, but with 3 Fate, they've just bumped up a whole tier now. Let's see. As far as what I think the best decks of this format of this next format, it's obviously going to be Cosmo. Like, this list pretty much says to me that Cosmos will be the best deck of the November format. with a close second being Infernoids, just because people still play that deck for some reason. I don't know. Apparently, it's good enough for it. Apparently, the deck is good enough for the hype train to just not be a hype train. It's sticking apparently, which I can respect. I mean that's just another deck that loses to turn 1 Dark Law anyway most of the time. So I don't have a problem with that being an easy matchup for me. I think after Infernoids, it would be very close between Psyframes and BA. Even BA, the hits to BA were very minimal in my opinion. I mean, 1 Graph, I'd say that's a bit much, but the deck still functions almost perfectly. I mean, they still have 3 Dante, they still have, well, most decks only play 1 Virgil anyway. But even though in my opinion Virgil is way better than Dante could ever be, even though Dante, I mean, I don't know, they have their niche uses. I just like Virgil more, personally. I mean, if they wanted to kill BA, they could have just limited Dante, and it's just like, I don't even think that you even want to bother playing BA with just 1 Dante. That's just me. Psyframes will definitely be good, just because they still have all their cards. Like, there's no way that Psyframes are going to be touched when they just came out like a month ago. Let's see. Other decks that would be very good. Obviously, Heroes will be very good, just because they had almost nothing. They lost almost nothing. Some would say that, you know, losing Rhoda would be a big hit, but not really when you could just play 3 E-Call. I mean, sure, the only thing you kind of miss out on is, you know, being able to search out Goblinberg more readily. But, it doesn't hurt my build, really. Because I don't really rely on cards like Goblinberg anyway. I mean, I did actually add in a copy of Goblinberg to this deck, and I'm going to actually get a deck profile in as soon as my E-Calls get here, but, yeah, I did add a Goblinberg, but, yeah, I probably should have actually waited for this list to come out before actually, you know, buying the rest of the, actually updating this deck and buying for it, but, oh well, it is what it is. But, yeah, that will be it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.